Welcome to Cartoonist Kayfabe. My name is Ed Piskor.
I'm Jim Rugg.
Today, guest of honor, we have Peach Momoko, the cottage industry in the house. Your cover artist in mind. Jimmy, lay a couple credits from the bibliography, the very small bibliography, but very powerful bibliography. We'll get the show on the road.
Yeah, we should say, starting out as an international exhibiting fine artist and illustrator around the world. In comics, we know her work from Demon Days and Heavy Metal. And as you mentioned, Ed, the cover artist for Hulk Grand Design and Red Room. Welcome to Cartoonist Kayfabe, Peach Momoko.
Konnichiwa. Arigatou gozaimasu. Hello.
Off the bat, here's a question I've never seen answered, and I'm very curious about. We talked about it on our video. The reading style is right to left in Japan, but it's left to right in America. Does Peach design her pages to your reading order or the American way? Is the artwork flipped when it comes to America?
コミック書くとき、日本の方だと左から右とか、アメリカは右から左だったっけな、まあ、どっちかなんだけど、逆方向なんだけど、コミック書くときってその日本の漫画のやり方としてこうひっくり返してるの？それともアメコミのようにちゃんとその絵をひっくり返したり、そういうことをやってるんですか？
アメコミのルールに基づいて書いてます。
So Peach works as the same as the American comic direction, so not the Japanese manga direction. So she doesn't flip the art or anything; just goes that direction.
And it's all original art that is generated, correct? Paint and color on paper, no digital.
Yep, all original watercolor ink. Watercolor ink. Very minimal digital. Like we'll scan it, and then if there's any small touch-ups, she might, like white out something on the digital, but that's about it.
Has Peach created much manga before she started doing work in America?
漫画作ったことは
ないです。
No manga.
So there's no doujinshi in that I need to go seek out when I'm in Japan?
同人誌とかも
その自分で書いて家で印刷してホチキスで留めるぐらいの同人誌っていうかわかんないけどはやったことあるけど、そのかわいい
籠慎太郎ともあれも入るか。
あれも同人誌かね。あれも漫画か。
So she's done a few doujinshis, like those staple print the paper staple. She's done a few of those, and probably closer to more better quality doujinshi. She's done it. She's collaborated with Shintaro Kago once.
Amazing.
That's something to track down, Ed.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 copies.
Yes.
Are you a fan of Marvel Comics? Is that part of your background before you started working for Marvel?
マーベルで働く前からマーベルのファンでしたか？
ファンだ、よくわかんなかったんだ、そもそもアメコミが。
So she wasn't either a fan nor not a fan. She didn't really know the difference in the American comic that what publisher makes what. So everything was like one big genre for her.
Is the original art a part of your business strategy? I know that in Japan, original art is handled way differently than it is here in America. The artists here, the mangaka here, sell their pages as part of their livelihood, but I know that that's not typical in Japan. So is she just holding on to the artwork, or is that going into the market?
So that I can answer. So everything like those original art, it was pretty new for Peach and I that it's one of those markets. So cover art, she usually sells almost all of her cover arts, other than some of the ones that she really felt attached to, or sometimes we just gift it to when we did the ghost a Girl Scout for Jim Mahfood, because he's a close friend of ours. We just gifted it to him. For the interiors, though, we haven't sold any of our interiors for Demon Days. No real reason, but Peach just wants to hold on to them, just in case, Marvel needs to use it for something, or just personal preference probably. But also when we did interiors for heavy metal magazines, we also kept all those interiors as well. So Peach is pretty, at least for the interiors, she usually doesn't sell them. But cover art, because it's not her series, it's not her story for the most part, she's pretty comfortable to sell them.
I find that common in a lot of other artists we talk to, myself included. I'm much more likely to sell cover art than interiors. And it's funny because I think collectors prefer the cover art, but most cartoonists I know, we value the interior art more than the covers. I'm curious about Peach's process for how she creates Demon Days. Is she writing full scripts? Is she working closely with an editor? Could you walk us through the entire process of a page from Demon Days?
Sure. Demon Days の作り全部それと俺が説明した方が早いかな。作り全部よく説明した方が早い。わかった。お願いします。Peach told me I should explain it. So basically, Peach, how she creates the Demon Days is it's almost like a movie director. She will do she'll come up with specific shots with, randomly in the story. And then she'll just paint that. Let me see if I have something example.
Yeah, what I like about it is that it sounds visual first in a visual medium, and then you kind of connect the dots as you move forward.
So like this piece she did, it's like an inside of a train. She'll just vision that, and then after that she will branch out and make the stories to fit that panel. Although this panel ended up not being used at the moment, but she'll just kind of think of parts, and then from there she'll connect more and more stories, and she'll then create that story and offer it to the editors. Lindsay Kohek is our editor for Marvel, the main editor for Demon Days. And she will kind of look through and see if it's connected correctly, but they really allow her to just go with her vision. So there's almost no edits story-wise from the editors. The only edits they give us is usually with Peach, a lot of her stories are very minimal conversations. So they'll sometimes tell us it's a bit confusing because there's no conversation going on between the two characters. So then at first, the first few Demon Days, a lot of her script was very minimal conversation. So our other kind of like our co-writer, Zach Davison, he helps create that script for us. And as he did that, Peach started to learn that American comics need a lot of conversations, not too much pauses. So now she's doing a little better writing the conversations. Zach still does a lot of the helping the conversation part of the story. But so she kind of creates it like that. So it's kind of all over the place at first. So she doesn't even know where her goal is sometimes with the story.
That's pretty cool, man.
That's very exciting.
Yeah, and we know Zach Davidson from some of the great translations of manga that he has sort of brought to the States. I think Tatsumi might be some of his credits. Shigeru Mizuki works, I believe, get translated by Zach. But this makes me wonder: is Peach a manga fan, and what are some of her favorite series, if that's the case?
わかんないけど、あんまり読まないんだけど、あれ、中華せんべいか。私が好きな。唯一買ってるのは山田花子と金子しか。そう。
So Peach doesn't consider herself as a manga fan, but she collects specific manga artists. One of her favorite is a manga artist called Yamada Hanako. Very kind of underground type of I don't really know the genre you could put for this person. Her stuff is very just extremely bizarre storytelling.
Would it have been in Garo magazine when it was serialized?
It has been, I think Garo ni did it now. Yeah. Yamada Hanako has been in Garo. And also the other artist that Peach really got inspired and really got into art is which Ed probably knows about, Atsushi Kaneko from Bambi. So just really kind of like that hard-boiled, punkish female kind of story.
Yeah, what's the publisher for the Kaneko work? Is it like Bang Comics, something like that?
It's Beam Comics, yeah.
Beam Comics, that's it. Yeah. They have a good brand in terms of where they would stand in Japan. I feel like they're like a Fantagraphics of Japan. Very exciting work that is left of center of, traditional shonen manga or something like this.
I picked up Bambi Comics when I was in Tokyo last time, and with no context, it just caught my eye.
Right.
That was something that I ended up grabbing off of a shelf.
彼らも好きだって、バンビとか好きだって。で、ビームコミックスの出版社好きだって、
そうなんだ。
結構ファンタグラフィックに近いかなって、その普通のコミックからちょっとずれてることをやるから、攻めたけど。
なんか好きそういう話。
Peach likes that kind of storytelling as well. That's kind of not the typical kind of stories.
I feel like I phrased my question incorrectly, Yo, because when I was in Tokyo, I would just meet random people and get into a conversation and ask them about their manga interests. And they would often say, no, I don't read manga. I only read Dragon Ball, Slam Dunk, City Hunter, and they'll start naming titles because I think that maybe when that question is asked, people think that if they're not otaku, then they're not considered comic fans. But I appreciate you showing me some of that work that Peach is into.
Yeah, Peach is, as far as I've known Peach, and that's about maybe 12 years now, I've never really seen her read or pick up that many mangas other than these artists. The other stuff she usually just picks up are a lot of art books. So not necessarily manga, but could be a manga artist. But she just likes the art and not necessarily into actually reading. So it's kind of interesting sometimes. Like I would buy her these mangas because she has these art books, but she doesn't read it.
Can you tell us some other influences outside of manga for Peach's art?
他の影響とある漫画以外で影響されてるもの。
影響はやっぱりジブリじゃないかな。
ジブリ。
ジブリとか中村隆とかアニメーションがすごい好きだから、それ。
So a lot of mostly anime is a lot of her inspiration. Like Ghibli films, a lot of the Ghibli films, and also director Takashi Nakamura. He did the movie The Dream of Palme or Fantastic Children. likes how the movement and how the weight differences in both of those directors or Ghibli's or Nakamura Sensei's works.
One of the things that I plan on hunting down while I'm out there is for every Ghibli film, there is great resources in print, great books that have the storyboards, great books that include just the complete kind of background paintings and things. Is a director like Satoshi Kon an influence on Peach in any way? Perfect Blue?
コンサトシとかは
大好き。
Peach loves.
大好きだからすごい亡くなった時スーパーショックだった。
そう
もう見れないのか。
So she was very shocked when Satoshi Kon passed away. That news, she was just devastated that she can't watch any, any more works from him anymore.
大好きコンサート。
But he's one of her other favorite directors.
So I've read that Peach works and has worked in a lot of commercial illustration. Has she worked on anime or film production?
アニメフィルムとやったことないよね。
アニメフィルムってやったことない。
She's never worked on those before. So really, a lot of her works has grown in the American comic industry and hasn't really reached the Japan side as much yet.
The split is so interesting. Like there are American type comic shops even out there, and they're kind of as small and to the side as they are here.
I was going to say that's consistent.
Yeah, totally. So Yo, I think let's talk a little bit about the latest trip to America, New York Comic Con, and the style of interview that we do. We call it a shoot interview, and to shoot means that you should feel comfortable being honest and things like that with how the experience was. Nobody will take offense, but there were a lot of articles written about what was going on in the line, and just I would love to know from you personally and from Peach's point of view what the experience was like and some pros and cons of that trip.
I'll ask Peach first.
Okay.
How she felt. ニューヨークコミコン、コロナ以来アメリカ行って、良かったこと悪いこと何でもいいからなんかどう感じたって。
一番最後に行ったコミコンの環境と全然違うからすごいショックだったし、なんか自分ずっと家の中で作業してたから自覚が全然なくて、そのレモンデイズ好きって言ってくれる人たちの実際の声を聞いたりとかするのなかったから、なんかこんなことになってるんだと思って、なんかすごい嬉しかったけど、なんか知らなくてもよかったかもしれないし、知ってもよかったかもしれない。なんか複雑な気持ちに一瞬なって、知らなくても普通にここで絵描いてればよかったなって一瞬思ったことがあった。
So for Peach, it was a bit shocking the amount of people that was interested in Peach's signature or art. And since the New York Comic Con was her first show since COVID hit. So it's been about 3 years since she did an international show. And 3 years ago, her line for Artist Alley wasn't crazy at all, and it just jumped extremely at New York Comic Con, and she was happy, but at the same time she was a bit confused what was really happening. And within this 3 years, she was basically a hermit and just kept working at home. Not even in Japan, we didn't even visit anyone in Japan almost. She was just in the house working. So she was happy that fans were coming and saying, she did enjoy Demon Days, Demon Wars, but she just was a bit shocked to see so many people, and she was a bit flustered. There was one point she felt that maybe she didn't need to know that there was this much fans, because this added pressure to her right now. So it was like a double-edged sword for her. So she's happy she found out there's so many people that liked her, but at the same time, there's so many people that likes her art. Now she has to deliver better work and is pressured, which is good pressure. But so that's how she kind of felt for New York Comic Con.
Let's hear your point of view of the experience, because you seem like a very good manager and a good administrator, and I just am curious what you saw through your eyes.
For the most part, similar with Peach, just it's a big jump from seeing Peach being not known in the comic world to jumping from doing a couple hundred covers a year, and seeing the line, a never-ending line, which is a bit crazy for us too. My voice disappeared by like the day and a half. It was just gone. Like I sounded horrible. And I think my voice is on like the Marvel Live YouTube thing, and it's all cracky and weird. But it was very intense. For the most part though, it was just real busy, but the energy was real good. It was just that morning where the exhibitors versus the VIPs versus the attendees, that kind of created this, basically the article that went around. But and I think Peach really got a bit scared, just because there was so much going on at 10 a.m. Like every morning at 10 a.m., just way too much things happening, like good stuff, bad stuff, just way too much. I'm not sure if I was able to handle it correctly. I tried my best to get the rounds for everyone, but I think around Saturday or Sunday, it was just getting a bit too crazy that it was beyond my experience. So I learned a lot though. So that was a good thing. And I mean, we've seen articles saying, is Peach scared to do shows now? But
なんかそのサインがどうのこうので誰かが騒いでわーっていうことよりも、その自分自身のその環境の違いにちょっとびっくりしちゃって、それだけでびっくりしているのに、なんかそのプレッシャーが気持ちが追いつかなくて、その中でああいうことがあったからさらになっちゃったっていうだけで、なんかそこまでして書くサインでもないと思ってるから、自分のサインとかなのになんかそういうことになってるんだなというなんかギャップというか日常のギャップを感じてしまってっていう、ただそれだけだね。別にそんな多分自分が取り乱したけど、そんな別によくあることだから私の中ではそんななんかびっくりさせちゃって。
So like Peach was saying, basically within the article, there's a lot of people were the exhibitors fighting. Peach was more shocked about the gap of the difference between 3 years ago and now. Just so much shock. That's why she kind of emotionally broke down on Sunday. But she was more shocked because she still doesn't really think her signature has any value. So she was shocked and amazed that so many people wanted her signature, because she still, probably to this day, doesn't really understand why people want her signature. So she was, a bit confused, a bit in that state of mind on Saturday and Sunday.
There are famous instances where this sort of thing has happened in American comics before. Probably the biggest story that I could think of would be when Alan Moore came to America. I think it was a San Diego Comic-Con. I think he only did one show in America, and he was talking about people following him into the bathroom. Like, he had no moment's rest whatsoever, and he's never done a show since. So you brought up the question, like, will you guys come to America and do shows again? But you didn't give an answer. So I wonder if it's too early. Do you have plans to come to America again in the future for shows, just handle things differently or whatever?
Peach and I already talked about this. Even though there was that moment, Peach still walked out of the show with a real great feeling. It was just that one morning incident, that few morning incidents that kind of made it hectic. But overall, it was, like a 99% great show. That it's just that 1% check mark that just got a little checked. But she had a great time. She's basically ready to do more shows, obviously within our deadline schedule. But she doesn't want to look like she's scared of doing shows anymore. She wants to come back to the States and handle it, me as well, handle it better and more prepared.
Yo, are you Peach's manager? Is that sort of your relationship with her art and career?
Husband and manager.
Okay, I ask
Yes.
Because it's interesting to me that Peach has worked as a fine artist, as a commercial artist, and in comics lately. And I wonder if you could compare commercial art, fine art, and comics from a business side standpoint. What do you see as different or similar between those fields?
Well, commercial art is for Peach. She's really trying to hit the mark for the editors or the publishers or the readers. And her fine art, she's very more loose on how she thinks or how she comes out with the concepts. Like, she really doesn't really, to sound a bit cold, but she doesn't care what people think of her fine art. Like, people can love it, people can hate it. And she's done few pieces that kind of got flagged on Twitter because it kind of looked like a girl basically committing suicide. But for her, that fine art is her way of expressing her emotions within the commercial art that she's being kind of not trapped, but she's within that bubble. So once in a while, Peach just wants to step out of the bubble and just do whatever she wants to do without thinking about the client, the fans. But she's also very careful because she used to do all fine art and no commercial art. She doesn't want those fans that's been following Peach in the horror fine art field. She doesn't want them to think, oh, Peach has gone this way and she doesn't do any more horror stuff. So she's always periodically on her social media or sometime in galleries that she'll put out these more fine art stuff so people can still enjoy both sides of her.
What is the work schedule like? Can you explain a day's work or maybe even a week?
あいこのピーチの仕事スケジュールめちゃくちゃだよね。
めちゃくちゃかな、わかんない。
So Peach's
みんながわかんない。比べるものがないからわからん。でもまあ昔と比べたらね。
So it is a bit all over the place, but on average, I would say, so Peach usually just wakes up maybe 9 to 10 a.m. Does the morning routine, like walk the dog, clean her studio. She likes to have her studio cleaned up before she starts doing anything. Waters the plant. And around probably 1 p.m., she starts to really start working.
それって最近のスケジュール？
そうだね。
そうだね。それはニューヨーク帰ってきてからのスケジュールだよね。ニューヨーク行く前はもう逆転だったよね。
Well, that was after we came back. That was more like a recent one. I'll just tell you our recent schedule. So she starts at 1, and around 4, she takes a break to walk the dog, and comes back home. And from 5 to 6 or 7, she paints it a bit more and eats dinner. And probably from 8 or 9 to 2 or 3 a.m., she's usually drawing or painting, and then goes to bed. Sometimes watches a movie before she goes to bed, or plays video games before she goes to bed. But usually around 4, she goes to bed. But this was after New York Comic Con. Before New York Comic Con, when her schedule was really all over the place, I don't know when she wakes up. I usually wake up around 8 or 9 and do all the stuff, and then I go to the post office or something. Sometimes I come home around 1 or 2 p.m. and she's still sleeping, or sometimes she's awake already painting. And then it just goes on and on and on, and then she usually doesn't stop painting until like 6 or 7 a.m. before New York Comic Con. But that was a weird schedule she was going. Like my sleep pattern, her sleep pattern was 12-hour difference.
A lot of spouses here in the States can identify with that when it comes to being in a relationship with a cartoonist or something like that. How does she occupy her time? Does she work in silence? Does she listen to the radio, movies, audiobooks?
沈黙で作業より大体なんか聞いてるよね。
動画見たり音楽聴いたり。
Usually, she's either watching documentaries or YouTube videos, or listening to music or radios. So always something going on usually.
So I wanted to get back to the Momoko verse, and I'm curious how that started. Was that something that Marvel came to you with an idea to do some interiors or to do some original stories, or was that something that you came up with yourself and pitched to Marvel?
For the Momoko verse or the Demon Days, well, technically the Mariko Yashida, the main girl for Demon Days, Peach. Well, first there was an Upper Deck Marvel Flarium project she was working on, and there was Scarlet Samurai or Yashida Mariko, and she was painting it, and then she really liked the design, but at the same time there were so many parts that she felt wasn't how a samurai armor's layers should look like. So she kind of not redesigned it, but for Marvel Flarium, she really went and designed Scarlet Samurai more how she felt should be represented a little bit more. And then when she did that, she found out Yashida Mariko didn't have any story. She had very minimal story in the Marvel universe. And this was about maybe 5 years ago. 4 or 5 years ago. So Peach really enjoyed this character, Mariko Yashida, with that minimal information. She really got interested in this character. And she decided to do a 30-page short story. Not a rough concept, but an actual finished comic book. And then we printed it so it fits the comic book size, dimensions. And then I guess it was a pitch, but we gave it to CB for Marvel. This was when Marvel knew about Peach, but we weren't contracted with them. So Peach basically finished a 30-page story, a finished version to CB. And 2 years down the road, CB contacted us and asked us if Peach wanted to expand that Mariko's universe into a technically 4 issues for Mariko and then 1 issue for the side story. But so that's how she came up with the Demon Day. The start of Demon Days was a complete pitch to Marvel.
Were those original pages published in Demon Days? Because if not, that sounds like doujinshi to me. I'd like a copy.
That is doujinshi. So doujinshi だね。最初のマリコ。
そうだね。
It wasn't printed in the Demon Days book. So it is a doujinshi. So I should print some.
When I come to Japan, can I see the pages?
Yes, of course. We have all those originals kept. So
amazing. You
can come to our house and do a studio visit.
That would be fantastic.
Cameras rolling, I hope.
That would be fantastic. Are those but on the wall behind in front of Peach? Is that character designs?
Yes, those are all the Demon Wars character designs.
Is Peach's schedule now mostly all comics work?
Comic as in the Demon series, or you mean like comic as in covers and Marvel stuff? Her schedule, I would say, is 90% comic work right now. And she just keeps 10% for galleries. So we have a gallery show in 2 weeks from now in Ginza. And then another one in the Yokohama area in December. And they're all kind of the horror-based stuff.
What is the exact date of the one in Ginza? I'm going to be very close to that.
It's November 6th to November 13th, I think.
I get there on the 13th.
Straight to the gallery, Ed.
That's goddamn right.
I'll figure out the exact date, but I think 13 might be 14. But that one is it's actually the Atsushi Kaneko tribute exhibit.
Amazing.
And Atsushi Kaneko will actually have his original art on display as well.
Amazing. That's always the cool thing. Like what people in America, what people will say when visiting Japan is, by the time that you get to Japan, you just missed something amazing. While you're in Japan, you'll see many amazing things, and you're going to leave just before something incredible is about to happen. Like that's the flavor of the city.
Yes, I think in December, I forgot the date, but I think you're right, about December 10 or something, 10 or 11 or 12. Peach is doing a show in Yokohama. It's the pop horror exhibit, so she'll have a couple pieces there.
And of course, I leave on the 10th.
Are there plans to do a collection of Peach's fine art?
There is plans. We just don't know if we want to do it as a self-published, or if there are a few publishers already interested in publishing her fine art stuff. But because of the Marvel contract, we don't, and she's just way too busy right now. She doesn't want to just throw old work to make something. So if she commits to a fine art book with so-and-so publisher, she'll obviously throw in her favorite old works, but she wants to dedicate and make something brand new for the book as well. So right now, just because the Demon Wars series takes up a lot of her time, it's just hard for her to juggle to make something for the fine art.
How long is the exclusive contract going on for?
It just got extended, so maybe I think 2025 at the moment.
Does Peach work in sketchbooks?
Peach スケッチブックに書いてる。
何を
Just sketchbook art?
Yes.
For ideas and things.
書いてるよ。あ、いや、こう書いてる、書いてる。
Mhm.
ここにデーモンデイズの一環っていうか、あれも書いてるし。見たいのすっげえ恥ずかしいからパラ見ね。でも、これ。
So this one was the Demon Days sketchbook that she did during Demon Days. So it's just really more like idea books.
これ一巻、デーモンデイズの話がなんか何ページにまとまってる？これ10ページ、30ページ
30ページ
がその歳以外のだから4巻かが全部まとまってるよね、その中に。
And here there's probably 4 issues worth of the Demon Days.
短編の
But also she does just random fun stuff. Just for ideas. In some stories, she'll just dream. She'll see a dream, and then she'll write or draw her dreams in here. And you know.
こういうのとか今書いてるさ、なんか全部さ、やつとか見せちゃっていい？これじゃない？あ、違う。
So not like the sketchbook you were probably thinking about.
悪夢、夢で見たこの
This is her nightmare she saw.
海の中で一人ポツンって仲間外れにされてる。
She was all alone inside of an ocean, and all of her friends or everyone is all in their own little corner, and Peach is all alone by herself in the ocean.
あとね、ベノム。
Yo, do you have somebody here in the States that you could confer with and have advice about the American comic industry and the business practices?
I'm sorry, say that again. I'm sorry.
Do you have friends here in the States who you can talk to about and ask advice about the business practices of American comics?
I do get some advices from I don't know if it's business advices, but just like for instance, we haven't done the Comic-Con, and she, before New York, we asked a couple friends of ours, like Adi Granov, and just asked do you hire someone to control the lines, or just that kind of simple questions. But we don't really have anyone. We don't really speak to anyone. I guess that's two business related conversations.
I see. Yeah, and I certainly don't want to get in your business in that way. But one of the tried and true formulas for great success in America is that mangaka, cartoonist, they gain lots of popularity with Marvel or DC, and then they can bring that audience that they build over to comic books that they make themselves, that they own, that they control, sometimes and often published by a company like Image Comics, and it would be something that that you guys own completely, and gain all the success from, and that feels very logical with the career that she's developing right now, and it's something to think about and talk about, especially if you're locked into Marvel for a couple of years. Maybe in that time start to develop something else, and just from this conversation with Marvel knowing that could be a potential in 2025, they might hook you up with $1 million or more. So we'll talk when we're out there, man. But I guess a question will be, does she have interest in designing some of her own comics for American audience, or Beam Comics, or anything like that?
So that I can already answer. Basically, the easy answer is yes. She's always kind of doodling, writing ideas and concepts. And some stuff do kind of naturally translates into the Marvel Demon series. it just kind of worked out, so that was okay. But there's some stuff that she wants to do that I think she doesn't want it to be transferred, even if it fits a Marvel story. She doesn't want to move it into that direction. So she's just kind of keeps it for possible future projects outside of Marvel. Could be self-published, could be, like you said, Image or other publishers. But she has a lot of ideas, concepts. Already did a few. I mean, Peach gets bored with things sometimes rather quickly, but she's already designed characters for a whole entire new story. When that time comes, will she use that character? I have no clue. But I mean, I think every artist is kind of do that. Just kind of sketches a character. They love it at that moment. 2 years down the road, you scrap it. But yep. But
that's exciting.
Has ideas.
I'm glad to hear that she thinks that way, and that in addition to the work that we see coming out of Marvel, that she's also generating work for the future. You know, wherever that may take her. I like to hear that.
Totally.
Mm-hmm. She just doesn't want to exclude herself to the American publishers, but at the same time, she's not like thinking of Japanese publishers at the same time. She's just kind of more thinking, I guess, worldwide. Like any publisher that could take her idea and let her run with it, that she'll probably start thinking. So not necessarily, doesn't have to be Beam Comics.
Right, sure. But just with all that stuff in mind, certainly when dealing with America, I think you know that you have friends like Jim Mahfood who will be happy to help you with, you know, any kind of advice, and consider us in that category as well. Like, nobody deserves to get short shrift when it comes to pay or anything like that. So if you ever have questions, please just don't hesitate to hit us up and ask us.
Thank you. なんかそういうオリジナルのものを書きたい時とかあったら、そういう質問とかあったらいつでもエドさんに聞いてだって、ジムさんとかエドさんに。
わかりました。貯めときます。
She says she'll gather more and more. So if she does have any questions, she can just pile you on with these ideas of artworks and concepts.
Were comics a surprise for you guys? It seems like Peach has been making art for, I don't know, 15 years or more, and the comics are new to her practice within the last 5 years or so. Was that a surprise going into comics?
コミックの世界に入ったのってびっくり？予想外？
びっくり、予想外。もう想像もしてなかった。
It was a big surprise for her. Like she didn't even think about anything in the comic industry.
イラストレーターで絵でちょっと食べていければいいと思ってたから、そのためだったらなんかいろんなものにチャレンジするっていう感じだったから、なんか今すごいコミック描いてるのめちゃめちゃびっくり。
So a few years ago, maybe more like 7 years ago, she really, we both kind of quit our jobs and then wanted to dedicate just to being an illustrator, or Peach to be an illustrator. And she wanted to see how far she can go as an illustrator. But she didn't calculate being in the comic world. Like she basically challenged herself doing commercial art, pinup art, cover art, anything basically that could lead her into a illustrator. So she just she's unbelievable. She can't believe that she's actually right now writing a comic as we speak, she said. But yeah, everything was just a challenge for her. Like she didn't want to just be exclusive to one genre and make a living off of that one genre. She just wanted to do. She tried all kind of things to see where she can go first.
What was the job that you guys quit?
何の仕事そのコミックやる前辞めたの？
私、コミックやる手前までやってたバイト、カフェ
So she was working at a cafe.
だからね、いろいろね、転々としてて、なんか面接するたんびに長続きしないんだねって言われてた。
She was really bouncing all over the place though. Like every time she does a resume or interview, they told her that she doesn't last long. She just quits her jobs very quickly. But I think the last place she worked at was a cafe. I also worked at a cafe, but I got fired because some adult, or they quoted their child saw my tattoo and got scared and I got fired.
Yeah, I hear that's a thing.
But that was a good fire. But that was a good fire. Because of that fire, it just made me push myself to just do art, or push her to do art. But
does Peach view comics as both commercial and fine art? For example, Marvel work would be commercial art. But if she were to do her own stories and her own characters, would that be more like fine art?
マーベルはコミックやるときって、それはコマーシャルとして書いてる。でもそれもやっぱファインアートとして、芸術作品として書いてる。その表紙でもいいし、自分の中身でも。
最近は自分を出してもなんか何も言われなくなったっていうか、その自信があるから自分らしく書かせてもらってる気がする。
じゃあどっちかっていうとファインアート寄りに切り替えてる。
ファインアートって何？
芸術的、感情的。感情的とは限らないけど。
なんだろう、そうじゃないかな。多分。でもあくまでもなんかイラストレーターっていうのが私の中でなんか勝手に自分の中で線引きしてるから、イラストレーターってさ、なんか画家とは違って画家はさ、一人で集中して自分の心と向き合って描くものじゃない。でもイラストレーターっていろんな編集の人と書いていろんな人と関わって作ってるものだから、なんかあまりその芸術っていうなんだろうな、やっぱ画家と違うから、私の中でイラストレーターってあくまでもやっぱ人と関わって作るっていうなんかそういうのあるから。
So for her, Marvel works, interiors or covers, she doesn't really put a line between commercial and fine art. She herself views herself as an illustrator, not a artist or fine art artist. For her, fine art is a person that's usually in their own zone, just working on a piece. And for her comic stuff, I don't think she sees it as a commercial as well though. But she understands that there's a team that she works with, a letterer, the editor, co-writer, translator. So it's not just her work, it's the whole team's work. But the thing she said that's could be close to a fine art, but she still sees herself as illustrator, but she's just very careful that she is able to paint covers or interiors in her voice or in her style. Like she doesn't want to make a cover because the editor told them to do it in this pose or this message or this theme. So she doesn't know. I don't know if that's considered commercial or fine art, but she's just very cautious about that part. That's anything she makes recently, especially, really is true to her vision.
We're coming up on an hour. So this next week coming up, 2 weeks, what are some of the deadlines and what are some of the things that Peach has agreed to turn in? It doesn't have to be specifics if it's not an announced thing, but just in terms of hard numbers, man. Got 26 covers to draw this week, something like that.
In 2 weeks? この2週間の締め切りどんくらいあるのかっていうもの結構あるよね。
結構あるね。
So she has about 40 pages of inking to do. Three covers, one piece to turn into the gallery. And we don't have an exact deadline, but she has to turn in a few character designs.
I'm having anxiety just thinking about it. Jimmy, why don't you ask one more and we'll let them get back to work.
Sounds good. How important is social media, do you think, in your practice? Peach has developed a huge fan following here in America and through comics. How much of that do you think is through her social media?
ソーシャルメディアとかって SNS ってどんくらい大事だと思う。で、結構アメリカでももう結構ファンが増えてると思うけど、それってソーシャルメディアのおかげとかってあると思うか？
すごいおかげあると思うし、すごいそれでファン絶対増えてると思うけど、あまり私は見ないようにしてる。情報が多すぎて自分らしくなくなるし疲れるめちゃくちゃだから見ないようにしてる。でもすごい助かってる。今の活動があるのはそのソーシャルメディアだと思ってるから。
So Peach feels social media is a very important part in her career. One, it was everything exploded during the COVID, and we weren't physically meeting people, so everything was all social media for us. So it definitely is one of the important part in her career. But at the same time, Peach stays away a bit, like to search herself or read too many comments. Not because of negative things, but she's afraid if she reads too many comments, too many advices, or too many ideas, that she'll start losing what she is true to her style is. Like she'll kind of start to get lost, and everyone's ideas will start bouncing in her style, which could work, but at the same time, that's not what she wants to do. She wants to be her stuff. So she's careful of the social media, of how much she reads into it.
So with that in mind, before we get out of here, are there any social media accounts or websites you would like us to direct the viewers of Cartoonist Kayfabe, and we can include those links in the description below this video?
Well, we have, Peach has her website, peachmomoko.com, that we post mainly her original stuff. So not Marvel, almost no published materials are posted there. Once in a while, and on her history, we have information, but mainly it's all her original stuff. And her Instagram, at peachmomoko60, it's probably the most posted artwork will be there. And Twitter, same peachmomoko60, has more of a mix of her, because she tweets as well on that. Has her published work, as well as a lot of random original stuff and random tweets, like how if she's a bit depressed, she'll, tweet that she's depressed and post a girl's head getting blown or something like that. So if you want to see that, I would say Twitter. If you want to just see her publish stuff, Instagram. And if you just want to see just her artworks and no tweets or any of that information, will be on our website.
You know what, Yo, now that you visited New York Comic Con, I'm going to be doing Tokyo Comic Con along with you and Peach. What should somebody expect from Tokyo Comic Con? How is it different than New York Comic Con? How is it the same?
Honestly, I don't know, because a physical Tokyo Comic Con hasn't happened for 3 some years now. So I don't know how much the fan base has grown since that 3-4 years ago. The only thing I know is, like, American comics is a very small niche in Japanese culture, but we don't have too many options. Like, there's only maybe like 3 or 4 American comic book shops in Tokyo, but at least that's somewhat known, about that many. And there's only Tokyo Comic Con and maybe a few small commission-based art shows scattered within Tokyo, but everyone saves up just for that Tokyo Comic Con. So it could get very crazy with sales, with lines, but I don't think it'll go as crazy as New York, because a lot of the Japanese people are more into the MCU or the DC movies instead of the comic books.
It's the same here, probably.
But as far as I know like when Adi Granov or Gurihiru shows up at Tokyo Comic Con, they do have a pretty good line. So you do get lines of people, for sure. But I'm not sure about like how crazy it'll be yet. And plus for Peach, last Tokyo Comic Con was 2019. That was before all the Marvel and Eisner happened. So her line was a cute line. But this year, Ed might be the first, you'll firsthand see it, see how it different, how much it'll be in the Tokyo Comic Con. Maybe it'll be a cute line still, but or it could be a crazy line. I don't know. But we also have like you will be there, and Jeff, and other artists that's rare in Japan. So it's the opposite. Like Peach was rare in New York, you guys will be rare in Japan. So you guys might have the crazy lines and the people fighting.
You're very nice, Yo. Here's what I'll say. Encourage Peach, and we should all have a Yo in our lives. Don't you think, Jim? Let's show this to our significant others.
Yes.
And see how the operation can work smoothly so that we can stay at the board. But Yo, please encourage Peach to ink those 40 pages as soon as possible so that we could all hang out in a couple of weeks and go to Jimbocho and look for old art books.
Peach is already looking forward to doing that.
Super cool.
It'll be her nice day off from work, and she needs that sometimes. So 一緒に神保町行くから楽しみにしてる。だから早く締め切りに間に合うように早く頑張ってって。
楽しみ。なんかどういうものを見てどういうものを買うのかそういうの見るの好きな。
Peach loves watching people look at things and buy things. So she's interested in what you are going to be drawn towards.
It's so funny because that's exactly how I am too. Like hanging around with Jeff Darrow, like what the heck is he looking at? Because I want a second copy and so on and so and so this goes, this thing of ours. Yo, Peach, thank you guys so much for visiting Cartoonist Kayfabe. Sounds like you got a big schedule. It's getting very late there as of this recording. So please, thank you so much for taking the time with us. I can't wait to meet you in person. Have a good night. Go back to work. Watch some anime. And thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
あ
Thanks,
りがと
Jim.
うござい
Thanks,
ま
Ed.
す。お会いできてよかった。嬉しいです。また会えるの楽しみに。
Peach is very happy that we got to talk and meet you guys, and she's very excited to hang out in Jimbocho or Nakano.